back to C4. This is part 3 of our discussions on Agent Orange. I'm your host, Rick Seaman. Back again is Dave Comer, Veterans News anchor, Shad Meshad, president and founder of the NVF and co-founder of the Vet Centers. To my left, to your right, Judith Coburn, Vietnam journalist, and Tad Foster, Vietnam Marine vet. As promised, I've got some charts here that list particular areas that were heavily sprayed with Agent Orange and other agents, white and blue, in Vietnam. So here's ICOR. This is total gallonage sprayed between 1962 and 1971 when spraying was finally halted. ICOR, fairly heavily sprayed up here. You got some heavy hitters. You got Camlo, 80,000 gallons. Here's Firebase Jack, 140,000 gallons. Firebase Rakuten, 150,000 gallons of Agent Orange. Here's LZ Rockpile, 110,000 gallons. And LZ Sandra, 118,000 gallons sprayed. ICOR, the second most heavily sprayed core zone in Vietnam during those years. Let's move on to 2 Corps. Here's 2 Corps, the Central Highlands. The third most heaviest sprayed military core zone between 1962 and 71. A lot of spraying in Bang San, LZ 2 bits, 80,000 gallons. LZ Putter, Firebase Bird, 50,000 gallons. LZ Dog, LZ English, together 63,000 gallons. And here is 3 Corps, the most heaviest sprayed military region in Vietnam during those years. Got some real heavy hitters here. An Loc, 77,000. Ben Cat, 87,000 gallons. Firebase Jewel, LZ Snuffy, 219,000 gallons plus of Agent Orange. K-Toom, 299,000 gallons sprayed. Na Bay, 119,000. And here is a very, very heavy sprayed area, Phuoc Vinh, 484,000 gallons of Agent Orange. Phuoc Vinh, up near that fishhook area that we saw on the maps. 3 Corps. And here's 4 Corps. Areas south of Saigon, the Mekong Delta. 4 Corps, the least most sprayed area of Vietnam. You got a heavy hitter here at Nam Can, 150,000 gallons. Ben Luc, 45,000 gallons. 45,900 to be exact. Ben Luc Bridge on the Vam Co Dong, where it was a Brownwater Navy base. 89,000 gallons at Tan An, just south of Saigon. Tan An, 89,000. So Tad, let's bring that Vietnam map book in, and you can talk to us about it. The Vietnam map book, a self-help guide to herbicide exposure.
essentially, the book was published in 1981. It was published in response to the United States government, Department of Defense's contention, and the VA, that nobody was in an area at the time that it was being sprayed by any one of the particular herbicides. So in the book is the herb states, which were the actual grid coordinates for spray emission. So in this particular case, these would be the herb states and the actual grid coordinates from spray missions from January to March 1968 throughout South Vietnam. And then a disgruntled Air Force pilot supplied the maps that were used actually to target these missions, but that the government refused to supply to any veteran who was trying to link his problems to Agent Orange. They supplied useless maps, and some regarded that as an obstruction of justice. But in any event, this book pretty much solved that issue on behalf of Vietnam veterans, because it wasn't terribly long after that that argument was abandoned by the United States government with respect to somebody being in an area why there was a spray mission going on, and it was a result of this book itself.
So this book was big in that breakthrough.
It was very big
of the government acknowledging.
And I think what's really critical is a quote from the book, because it really gets to the bottom line of accountability, but it says here, TCDD, which is dioxin, does not kill plants. Its extreme toxicity was known to the manufacturers, but TCDD was not removed from 245-T because that would have increased production costs, unquote. And I just, I actually referred to that in my own book. I said apple pie and Agent Orange don't mix. True patriots don't poison their own nation's children, however cost-effective dollar-wise.
I wonder how good this money that was saved would look today at the VA helping to take care of these problems.
Yeah, well, that's
Afraid they went to the profits and the shareholders of
Yeah,
Diamond
of
Shamrock
course.
and Monsanto and
Dow
Dow Chemical Company.
Dow Chemical, yeah. So,
Okay, very good. Thank you, Tat. Thank you very much. And there's that little,
I was privileged to do the back cover illustration for the book. That was actually my participation.
one of your many world famous cartoons from the Vietnam era, from the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tat. Thank you. That was very good with that map. And, you know, it doesn't hurt to know where you were, and it doesn't hurt to know where they were spraying. So the most veterans in those early years, right after Vietnam, that were concerned, their government seemed to be dodging the bullets. The VA wasn't prepared. The public was tired of Vietnam stories. And veterans like myself were just trying to be home now and get on with their lives. We weren't thinking about it. And a lot of veterans, also like myself, when they were in Vietnam, weren't aware of defoliation missions necessarily. They didn't even hear about Agent Orange. And without a map, or even with a map this sophisticated, could I have said, oh, I was there, I was here, they sprayed on these dates, I was here or there on those dates? I doubt it. Most likely, I couldn't have figured that out. But this is what the veteran was faced with. That's what he had to do in those early years following Vietnam. He had to know the grid square, the date. It's absurd. That's what was required back then in order to get any kind of help or to file a claim.
It's the best way to slow it down. It's the best way to slow it down, you know. A lot of things fell on deaf ears. I mean,
Research, cover-ups.
Tad, wasn't it in 70, the Surgeon General's report? I mean, already in 70, they were still spraying.
They said it was, Surgeon General warned it was hazardous to our health.
Right.
Well,
And in 71, they quit spraying.
71, they quit spraying.
I mean, it's just.
But,
Hello.
but they didn't want to take care of the vets.
Oh, yeah, well, there wasn't enough noise yet. You know, let's don't address it until it's,
All
you know,
right.
it's really sticking in our face.
Well, do you think the big noise really occurred with the class action suit by all those vets?
I think it built. I mean, it
Yeah.
started in the mid-70s when a few guys started coming down with ailments, and they started, the political context had changed a little bit in America. The environmental movement had started focusing on pesticides and herbicides and fertilizers and dangerous chemicals. So, some vets began to realize that there was some connection between Agent Orange and those
Right.
kind of issues, and they, basically launched a political movement which finally resulted in the lawsuit in the mid-'80s, but late '80s. But, it really was a political movement by Vietnam veterans to create Agent Orange as an issue, just as Vietnam veterans created counseling for, post-traumatic stress syndrome. Post-traumatic stress syndrome did not exist before SHAD, and veterans
Yeah, it
went
was
on a
just-
campaign to deal with these issues, and
I mean,
Agent Orange
basic-
is the same.
Yeah, but exactly, and I think it was 75 that President Ford announced something. I can't remember, something about no more chemical warfare or something like that or whatever.
No,
That was right.
Which was an acknowledgement that
Right.
Agent Orange and the
Right.
spraying in
He-
Vietnam had been a disaster.
But
In
you work for the government.
1975, President Ford signed an executive order which renounced, quote, first use, unquote, of herbicides in warfare. And at almost the same time, the U.S. Senate formally ratified the 1925 Geneva Protocol, which banned chemical weapons.
But I love the point that Judy made about Vietnam veterans. I've always said that, and of course, we're now in this other war, but just thinking about it was always focused. Let's put upset, maybe some anger there, of Vietnam veterans that knew better, that weren't going to just keep their mouths shut. There was too much available, and people were reading and asking questions and not getting answers. And there were people like Judy Coburn and others that wanted answers and did not work for the government, and therefore could press and needle. And there was this synergy that created in the 70s of saying, we're not going to take that, that's BS, that's not correct. And we started putting all the pieces together, and it was like a fire building up or a snowball rolling downhill. It got bigger and bigger until politically they had to do something.
I think the strategy at that time on behalf of the government was really a strategy of dismissal and denial, and they utilized these studies to accomplish that strategy because that was their excuse. It was in study.
And you see this.
Inconclusive was the operative word.
You see this over and over again. It's the same as Gulf War syndrome. The resistance by the government, the demand from the government that you have to have 100% cause and effect of science in order to compensate people. And the problem is that the science is never there. I mean, it's like, there's probably only one thing that has really been proven in a cause and effect way to cause, cancer and serious health problems, and that's tobacco. But the science isn't good enough on all of these things. So if you want to resist taking responsibility for taking care of people, let's have some, studies, because they won't be conclusive.
And why do we have to keep trying to prove
also,
Agent
it's-
Orange or other things?
If
It's like
if someone makes the ultimate sacrifice, which is to serve in the military and place their life in danger, which most people don't ever want to do, right? But soldiers do that. My position is, you take care of them. I don't care what caused it. After they come back,
Right.
you don't need cause and effect. You don't need studies. You just take care of
Hell yes, and what they need is more vets making noise in their face. C4, we'll be right back.
I want to tell you about my father. He was a world-class fighter. In 1941, he was the #1 lightweight contender in the world. In 1942, America went to war. He never got to fight for his title. He fought instead for his country. 10 months later, he was wounded in the Battle of Metz and was told he would never walk or fight again. I used to fight for the honor of my father. Now I fight for the honor of all veterans of foreign wars. Did you know that there are over 25 million war veterans in America? The National Veterans Foundation helps all veterans unconditionally. If you or anyone you know is a veteran who needs help, call this